This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, folks, how's your day been? Hope you've had a fairly decent one. Mine has been flat out sitting in front of a computer doing a whole heap of editing today. Was meant to be catching up with some friends for lunch, and that was going to be, a bit of a show we were going to do, in fact. So I will let you know that the plan fell over when one of the members of our troop called up this morning and said he was too unwell to come out and have lunch. And he is very, very unwell. I got to say, he sounded like he was as sick as 10 bears this morning when I spoke to him. So wish him all the very best. And the other guy, of course, he seemed to agree that it was best maybe we left it for another day. So hopefully tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, maybe the next day, we will try and get something happening for this lunch. I don't want to spoil it just yet. They are two people who you are quite familiar with. Pardon me while I clean my glasses. We were going to have a wonderful lunch at a very familiar pub to people. So I'll let you know what time and place, and if you're free, maybe you can pop past at some stage and catch up. Might be on the cards if you're in Brisbane. Speaking of that, I've been contacted by a few people in and around southeast Queensland saying, let's do a show down here somewhere. Okay, very happy to do that, and thank you very much for the emails and all that sort of thing. I was trying to think of something a little different that I could do, and it's dawned upon me that I've never had the opportunity to play. Oh, geez, I did a shocking job with those glasses. I've never had the opportunity to go lawn bowling or barefoot bowling, and there might be a bowling club. In fact, I do know that there's a bowling club quite nearby that does that kind of thing. So I'm thinking maybe a bit of fun. We'll do a show and have a barefoot bowling night, or do a bit of barefoot bowling and then do a show. Whichever way it works out, there'll be a bit of both, and we can have a bit of fun. Nice social atmosphere and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to go to work on that tomorrow and see what I can arrange. And if that is the case, I'll try and arrange it for next week. I know short notice, but you don't have far to travel. So if you're living in the Brisbane sort of Gold Coast or even Sunshine Coast area, and further out, Ipswich and out into the Lockyer Valley, then it's not a huge drive. Up to you, of course, if you wanted to make it, but we'll see if we can't make it something a little different for a bit of fun. Now tonight, as I have tried for a couple of nights this week, I've tried to get Darreen Bergwerf on. Now, Darren is absolutely flat out with my place at the moment. My place is going absolute gangbusters. That's about the only thing I can say. Absolute friggin' gangbusters. My places are being set up right around Australia. But what's more, there are some significant, and I mean significant, people coming on board with land, with produce, with beef, lamb, and pork production, and quite a few other different bits and pieces. Now, this is predominantly happening in Victoria, but there is also movement from other states too. And I'm hopeful that Darren is sort of going to juggle us in between events that are happening tonight at Frankston, at my place, Frankston. It's their community council night tonight, and he's going to open it all up and let people start talking and then sneak off and have a chat with me. So at least that's the plan. You know how good plans go, though. So I've also had a few emails from people who have inquired as to what the bloody hell are we thinking, trying to release something from that sounds like a constitution. Of course, I'm talking about the log of claims that I mentioned yesterday or the day before, that has been predominantly put together by John Wilson. Now, please do not think John Wilson has written all this together. he hasn't. I'm just going to change my lighting a little bit there and figure out what's wrong with these glasses because I still can't see through them right. I'm not very happy with these glasses, folks. I've got to tell you. In fact, give me a moment. I might nearly have to go back to the other ones just for the evening. I don't know. See if these are making any difference. But I somehow doubt that this tinting thing is working well with one or both or all of the lights that I've got floating around in this room. It's making my eyes look a bit weird. There you go. Well, I don't know that it's much clearer, but anyway, a little bit of reminiscing going on. What was I talking about? John and the log of claims. Right. So don't think for a moment that this is something that John has put together all by his lonesome. He has predominantly gathered everything that is in this document from we the people at the events that he's traveled around to and through the communications that he's received directly from many people from all around Australia and from all walks of life within Australia. So this is a document, this log of claims, I think is a great starting point. But please do not think or be under any misapprehension that this is John writing anything, trying to force his will. That's nothing of the sort. Although we are toying with the whole idea of calling it a Aussie Communists Manifesto. He, for whatever reason, has a great desire to call it that. But, of course, we all know that he isn't a commo, hasn't been a commo for many years, and publicly renounced the Communist Party many years ago. And I guess at some point turned slightly capitalist because he wound up, I think, rather than working for the unions, wound up working on very large projects for the bosses. So having said that, don't ask me where, what, where, or how. I'm just sort of trying to put things together myself. But John has been able to do just that, put things together himself. He's taken great note of what he's been told. And obviously, John is very motivated. God had a very large effect on him while he was floating backwards down the Brisbane River in high flood in the middle of the night with the police saying, "Sorry, mate, we're not coming to rescue you, or your dog, or anything else." So there you go. Clean them a bit better and you see what happens. So, yes, please don't think this is John forcing his will upon us or whatever. And in fact, that is exactly the opposite. This document is merely a starting point. And what we want everybody to do is to share it, to read it, to share it, to discuss it, to add things to it if that's what's required, because nobody says everything that needs to be in a document like this is there yet. You might think of things that we didn't. And that the other people that contributed to this didn't think of. That's what this is all about. So we circulate that, we talk about that, we modify or we amend that if there is enough sway to do so, or whatever you bring up is something logical and reasonable and should be included. And we can pretty much assume that everybody will agree with that. But if there are contentious things that should be brought up, we'll put that to a bit of a vote. There is no reason that something like this can't be discussed like adults. We can all have a go at discussing things like adults. I know that there are certain amongst us who don't like doing that, but yeah. But anyway, that will come out towards the end of this week and or over the weekend, depending on a few little things that are going on at the moment. Delta, did I get your email? Well, Delta, if you emailed me as Delta, I don't know. I don't think so. Let me say that. Does anyone know from the man with Captain Marvel Jr.? Yeah, good on you, Michael. The log of claims does sound very interesting, Paul. Looking forward to being able to bring it to you, and looking forward to your response, your input, and and as I am for everybody's. That's crucial. So hello, Barbara. G'day, Mick. G'day, Sandy. Who else is in the house tonight? Aussie Sue, of course. Lovely, lovely Sue's. Elsa, thank you so much. You and your husband are fabulous folks. Jane is in the house, and Neville is telling me that my image is very clear today. Thank you, Neville. We must be getting something right finally. At least that's the hope. So what else is going on today? Well, BHP and Coles have made a couple of big announcements. Following in the footsteps of Woolworths, from March the 1st, no one will have to be squirted up the wazoo with the jibbity jab to get employment with them. Shock, horror, gasps, what a surprise. Okay, great. We'll be able to get potentially a great number of unemployed policemen working at Coles as checkout chicks or chaps, depending on, or checkout thems. I don't know what you call them. At any rate, that'll be great for the police who are not allowed to go back to work because they refused to be stuck up and bodily invaded in any way. What a shame, because, of course, now that's opened the door to Plugger Duck & Co. to now start employing 500 overseas police a year. They do not need to become Australian citizens. In fact, I'm of the belief they do not really need to understand much English. They will go through a training period, a fairly brief training period, because I believe what they're trying to do is recruit police already employed in different parts of the world. There has been a great push into New Zealand to try and steal a number of New Zealand police whose hands are well and truly full at the moment with what's going on in the North Island, that the media and the government of New Zealand seem determined not to tell anybody about. So God knows how bad that is actually going to get. So if you've got friends and family in the North Island of New Zealand, I feel for you, because it's certainly not good there at the moment at all. Steve Gangster, are medbeds real? I don't know, Steve. I haven't seen one, if that's what you're asking. So I have no idea. A lot of information comes out about them, and I would counsel you to go and have a look at frequency and vibrational healing, frequency healing, vibrational healing. There is some amazing, I think I spoke about it last night, there is some amazing research being done on very focused, devastating frequency treatments, where they find exactly the right frequency for a type of cancer cell and target it with that frequency, and it shatters. And they have that proof under microscope. So very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I think what we are lacking in that regard is a way to use that technology while it's still inside our body. All the tests that I've seen have been blood on a microscope slide, shortly after it's obviously been taken. It's still very live blood. So I think the biggest hurdle that we face regarding medbeds is the actual hardware part of it. What is the interface between it and us? And somewhere in the background, we're being told that's being worked on. In fact, there is a big Tesla shed somewhere that is supposedly putting out 1,000 of them a day. Where they're storing them, how they're getting them anywhere, and how nobody's talking about them. Well, that's a whole other bunch of questions, isn't it? So are they real? I don't know. We are all praying, I think, if we have friends, relatives, or ourselves, we are all praying for it, because God knows the pharmaceutical companies have been robbing us blind and keeping us poisoned all our lives, all of our fathers' lives and mothers' lives and our grandparents' lives. and quite probably our great-grandparents. I think it probably goes back as far as the snake oil salesman, if not deeper back than that. So the medical advances that have been held from us, 6,000 medical technological patents have been withheld from us. A lot of them to do with vibrational and frequency healing. So, Steve Gangster, I don't know if you are serious about the question or if you are like one of the many trolls that just want to poo-poo the idea or try and box me because I believe in such things. Well, I'll be honest with you, box away, because I want to believe they exist. God, I want to believe they exist. There is particularly one person that I want to be upfront when these things turn up. And she is a part of our family. And without the aid of something like a medbed, then there are going to be some significant challenges going forward in her life that could end it sooner rather than later. So this is a lady that we cannot afford to lose from our fight in any way, shape, or form. So yes, I pray every night that the medbeds are real. I hope they are. I can't wait for them to be rolled out. I see no physical evidence of it, but why would I? I mean, if they're real, they're going to be secret. Because if we actually knew what warehouse they were being stored in, if we knew what truck, what aircraft, what train they were being transported on, the people would be pulling them out of the boxes on the side of the railroad tracks, on the side of the road, or at the airport, and getting into them there and then. They would be rioting in the streets to get into these things. So I guess if they are real, it's certainly part of the controlled operation that if you're a troll, you certainly don't believe. And if you're not a troll and you're curious or you're well awake, then it's part of the operation that we all believe is happening while we have, for the most part, no physical, actual proof in our own lives. But if you're wide awake and you're looking at what's going on in the world, you can see what's happening. Then yes, you believe. So, yeah, that's the answer, Steve. God, I hope so, because there is at least one lovely lady in my life, in fact, two lovely ladies in my life, that desperately require this soon. So that's what I want. Evening Sunflower, lovely to have you here, and the lovely Aussie Sue. I think I said hello to her earlier. Who else? Hillbilly. Yeah. Lost all care for the police after what they did to us for the last 2 or 3 years. You don't care. I think, Bill, you've got to be careful because not all police, I don't believe, are corrupt. There are young ones that are very gung-ho. There are older ones that are very controlled, very Masonic, or, yes, let's just leave it at that. And there are those who've, resigned their positions and walked away because they refuse. Now, they're the kind of people we really need to become our sheriffs, if you like. And I'm sure a lot of them are studying for just that. I'm sure a lot of them are being tasked with lots of learning in that area. At least I hope that is the case. If it's not the case, then I would urge every ex-law enforcement officer who stood on principle and walked away to study up on that, because you're going to be very useful in the future. Optus is what's this? Here we go. Optus is pushing digital ID. Right. Okay. So if you want to go in and pay it one way, you'll have to do digital ID identification. Otherwise, you can still pay using your mobile number. Right, well, just indicates they've probably got some form of digital ID on your mobile number. Thank you, Sandy. Yes, if you can, and if you're not subscribed, folks, please subscribe. I haven't actually bothered looking because YouTube just have me so badly shadow banned. Let me just have a look and see whether or not I've been able to gain. Oh, there you go. I've gained 12 supporters in, I guess, the last 3 days. That's at least what the subscription thing, or whatever it's subscribed now, bell button thing does. 10,621. So I know for a fact that they really hammer my subscriptions. A lot of people say they can't join. They get a message up that says, it's kids content, or can't join you at this time, or can't subscribe you at this time. And it becomes a bit of a pain in the ass for them. So they don't end up doing it. And many others, we had 1,000 people one night all try and do this at the same time. And I got one person actually got through and got subscribed that night. So yeah, they are hammering us in other ways. So if you can hit the like button and subscribe, that would be great. Something else you want to like and subscribe is myplaceaustralia.org. Go and have a look and check out the map. There is My Places now in just about every state of Australia. And this is all due in pretty much great part to one bloke. His name is Darreen Bergwerf. He comes from Victoria in the great suburb of Frankston in Melbourne. Let's welcome him now. Good evening, Mr. Bergwerf. How are you, mate? Oh, I can't hear you. Don't know what you've done with your microphone. No, you can't hear me either? No, I can't hear you. Yeah, you, me. I can hear me. Everybody else seems to hear me. Is anybody else hearing Darreen? Hang on, let me go down to the bottom of the chat and see if I can find that. Is anybody hearing Darreen? If he's talking. I know. Say something, Darreen. Yep. Yeah, no, nobody can hear you, Darreen. Can you hear me? Nod your head, don't say. Yeah, you can. Right, no, well, can't hear you. Hang on, let me try and. No. It says your mic isn't connected, so maybe you've got to go back out and log in again, maybe. Try that. See if that works. We'll see how it pulls up. Darren's jumping in between meetings tonight at my place in Frankston. It is the People's Council meeting tonight, and they're got a couple of committee meetings on too. In fact, he was part of a huge meeting last night, and I know quite a lot of you are watching tonight who were on that Zoom with him. I think it ran for 3 hours last night, and it went like that, he says, because there was just so much great information being put forward, some great education going everywhere. And well, takes a little bit of time. Here we go. Let's try another go. Good evening, Mr. Bergwerf. How are you this evening?
Yeah, good, Carl. How are you, mate?
Excellent. Now we've figured it out.
Yeah.
Look, I got to say, it's been bloody hard to get you on pretty much since the start of the year. I know we've had a couple of chats, but in the last, 2 weeks, we've tried to get this happening every other night. And you are driving here, doing a speech there, going back to Frankston for this meeting, that committee showdown, and this council appearance. Mate, things are flying with my place. Tell us about
it is. It's going too quick, actually. And last night we had our coordinator Zoom meeting, which we do once a fortnight with all the coordinators from the 105 different. We only had about 90 on last night, but I think we've got about 105 communities now up and running. And we're not really pushing to get any more at the moment. We're trying to get all the infrastructure built, which we're getting very close to having our own server up and running, the website fixed up, and getting all the back of house stuff done so that we can accommodate the growth when it comes.
Yep. So, do you have an accurate number of where we're up to now?
It's between 100 and 110. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, you're basically picking up another 5 or 6 every week.
Yeah, we did 13 one Friday a couple of weeks back. We got about 4 off the speech I did in Geelong, and we've just got the big common law group down in Terrelgan are just coming over and becoming a My Place, and so is the Bairnsdale crew. And we've got kind of Sale down there as well, and Warrigal and Nuji and kind of Garfield and Pakenham. So we've got the whole Latrobe Valley pretty much covered now. So yeah, we're reaching out, and all those people have got contacts in. We're starting to target other areas now where we can kind of get a contact in a certain town and make sure we fill those kind of holes so that we can grow out from all the different regional big cities.
Yeah. So you and I have had quite a few conversations away from the show. There are some really exciting things happening in the background with producers of both fruit and vegetables, but also livestock too.
Yeah, well, we're in the process, and I'm working with Penny from Port Macquarie at the moment. She actually did the Zoom for me last night, and we're trying to get a whole host of farmers together and start doing some Zooms with just the farmers so they can kind of connect as well, and we can start having discussions. I'm speaking with ones down in southwest Gippsland, down near Colac. They've got a 200-acre organic farm down there. They've got eggs, they've got cheese, they've got milk, they've got lamb, they've got beef. And we're starting to get a database so we can get this food cooperative up and running. And I was speaking to someone today. We've got My Place Cobram now along the Murray, and somewhere up near Nephalia, we've got a farmer up there that does apricots, pears, and peaches.
I'm sure that there'll be a lot more that come on board throughout that whole region, the Goulburn Valley region. I know at the moment, particularly along the Murray, they'll be recovering after the floods, and it's probably going to be a little while before they get back on their feet. I know when we were in Shepparton, there was a gentleman who came down from Echuca and was very keen to get something established up there, but he was still, some weeks away from being able to get back onto his property. So he was trying to figure out where he was going to stay with his family, let alone be able to set up a My Place. So I'm sure that the Goulburn Valley will come on board, just as soon as the folks start getting back on their feet and clean up after the recent mess, yeah?
Oh, 100%. And it's not, it'll be all around. We're going to try and set up these hubs or maybe cool rooms dotted all around the outskirts of Melbourne where we can bring produce in, and we're going to get a real serious food cooperative up and running. The farmers have been screwed royally for decades, and it's time that they started getting better prices for their hard work, and we started getting good prices for our produce that's straight from the farmer, and cut out the middleman, which is not the whole, but is one of the biggest things about what the My Place communities are about, is to get people to have the discipline to stop spending money at all these cabal stores, and including all the fast foods, any chains that are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard, and that includes the big supermarkets. We need to stop putting these roadblocks in our way of why it's too hard or it's too expensive to buy organic. There's so many ways that can be done, but just people are too lazy to change their habits, and that's the one thing that if we want change, we need to be that change. And that's what we're trying to kind of instill in our mentality and our mindset in the My Place communities.
What sort of pushback do you get when you're having these meetings? What sort of challenges are you facing? Maybe not pushback. What challenges are you facing from different communities that you weren't really expecting?
The challenge at the moment, and I've had 2 conversations in the last 2 days, and God love him, but Hoodie's kind of causing a bit of a ruckus with his tour he's doing down here at the moment. I'm not saying he's a bad man or anything like that, but he's really doing is talking about the past and what we've been through and the problems and all the rest of it. And it's actually holding the whole movement back. There are a lot of people in this movement that are holding the movement back because people, while they think they're awake, they're so asleep. Even the people who've been to Canberra, I still believe that most of those people are still stuck in the third dimension. They're still in fear, and they're still kind of either processing or wanting to play victim or talking about what's gone on rather than working on the solutions, which we have. We have the solutions. We have a plan. And the quicker people can kind of get on board with that and come and help us implement that plan and stop looking in the past and in the revision mirror, the quicker we're going to actually get somewhere.
Yeah. I'm just seeing a few comments popping up at the moment. Local markets are really growing all around the place. We were talking yesterday about the possibility of farms that aren't being utilised, maybe because the mother-father operation that maybe netted a couple of kids didn't net a couple of farmers out of them, and so dad's run the property for as long as he can, but it's still home. They're living there, but they're not really doing much with it. And there's nobody working the property. They might be leasing a bit of it out, or somebody might be doing a bit of adjustment, or they might be doing some sharecropping. I don't know. Is this a realistic thing that we could put towards farmers to have My Place farms, if you like, and from within our My Place communities, we find the people to do the work required for the sowing, the tending, and the reaping of the crop?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we've already kind of started on, and there is, I've been saying this for a little bit, that underutilised land around the country, and while it takes a lot to go and get a farm up and running, it's going to take years. You don't do that kind of thing overnight. So our first point of call is, yes, I think it's great that more and more people are starting to grow stuff in their backyards. The more produce, the fresh produce we can grow that's not chemically enhanced or modified, that's better for everyone's health, and it takes less stress off the having to shop at the supermarkets. But in the short term, I think the challenge we've got with the whole farmers gate to plate thing is the security of their business. I mean, no one's going to leave the sales that they've got, the client base that they've got through the big supermarkets, and risk all that when we don't have the numbers. So it's going to be a really slow transition. It's going to be really organic to start with, but we will build it to a point where we will be buying everything direct from the farmers.
Yep, and that's only going to make life better for everyone. I saw a news article today where Jerry Harvey came out and said everybody would be much better off if they sold all their property, sold all their assets, and invested that money in Harvey Norman. In 3 or 4 years' time, they'd be multi-millionaires. What's your thought on that?
I think Jerry Harvey should keep his mouth shut and just let the people decide what they want to do. And certainly investing in a stock market company like his, we keep our money pool within our community. So I tell Jerry to take a long walk off a short pier, as Ricardo would put it.
Yes, and I think if you look at the returns on them in the last half year or whatever, I think their January take was down 10%. Their half yearly take is down. Their overall projections are down. Although he still managed to make 300 and something odd million bucks last year. Keep your money. Don't go pegging it into the stock market at the moment. That would be my bet. If you want to go and spend it anywhere, talk to Cass Smith and the crew at Freedom Financial Services and get your super turned into gold and silver. Or if you've got a lot of cash and you want to store it somewhere, that's not a bad place to put it either.
Just on that, if people are looking for real kind of investments, we want to start our own industries back up again. So we want industries owned by the people, and that's what My Place is trying to create. That the whole My Place Australia model, which have only been going 2 years, but what we're coming up with and what we're building at the moment, we're going to have My Place Australia insurance, registration, where we can totally leave the system. We need to get our own industries back owned and run by the people, and that could be a swathe of investors that would have a stake in that, including My Place. It could mean some capitalist venture partners, but we need to get the hemp industry up and running. We need to get micro abattoirs, micro dairies, and take control back of the food chain. That's probably the first thing that we want to do, is get control of the food chain, and then obviously the hemp building materials and those kind of things as well. So there's plenty of if people have got money that they want to put into something, we can build a business model where they can invest in their own business and be part owners in a business that's going to be fully transparent. It won't be bullshit share buybacks and all that crap that the corporate world do. It'll be just a solid cooperative business that will be owned by the people and run by the people.
Interesting that we're having this chat today. Of course, Coles have come out and said, come March the 1st, you don't have to be jabbed to be working for them. Woolies and Aldi are doing the same thing. I think Woolies were the first to come out with it. Obviously, you won't have any requirements of that at anything you're operating or setting up, will you?
No, not at all. We'll be, and if you are, it doesn't matter either. We welcome everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. My place is about inclusion. It's about education and warmth. I think, you can do everything from, Tai Chi. I think you do Tai Chi, music lessons, self-defense courses. I know you have plans for, things going into the front of the building in the office areas that are very exciting, studios and all that sort of thing. We are going to build something here, which I hope you'll allow the Voice of Freedom to be part of, that really has the opportunity to create a massive interwoven network of producers and consumers without the middleman, all to the benefit of the community.
Yep, that's exactly what we're trying to roll out. And we're talking about a My Place Australia media as well, with a GRN, Grassroots News, on 6 o'clock every night of the week for half an hour, which would very quickly grow to an hour. It'll be full on just reports from all the My Place communities around Australia, at their local council meetings, at their markets, what deals they're doing with farmers, how quickly they're growing, just all the good news stuff on just how bonded and how good their communities are running. So to be a bit of a countermeasure for the stuff. Actually, I've been writing a bit of a speech today, which I was going to do a quick video about, because we need to kind of rebut a bit of the bullshit that's going on through the mainstream media. And they're not even media. Media is probably the wrong word. They're a propaganda arm of the elite and the cabal. We know that. They're going to face their reckoning soon enough. But so all this bullshit about sovereign citizens, which we all know is an oxymoron, and conspiracy theorists, which is also an oxymoron. Anti-government, anti-vaxxers. We're definitely none of that. We're just good, hard-working Australians, and now apparently, if you're trying to expose corruption and fraud, which is our duty, and actually it's against the law not to do it once you discover it. You're a conspiracy theorist if you discover and expose fraud. So, I mean, this whole narrative, I think it's it just needs to be squashed, and having that the kind of My Place Australia news network, where people can come and look for themselves and see the kind of stuff that we're doing. They can get on our website, and it will dispel all the bullshit that the mainstream propaganda arm are kind of casting aspersions about us.
Here's an interesting idea for you. I've been following pretty closely what's going on at Channel 10 at the moment. And in today's media, it pops up that their parent company, which is Paramount Plus out of America, it used to be Viacom CBS. They changed their name to Paramount Plus, I don't know, a year ago or thereabouts. They are the parent company, and they've come out and said, no, we're not selling. We're not shutting Channel 10 down. No, if anything, we're going to invest more money in it. So you can be 100% guaranteed that within the next 12 to 18 months, Channel 10 will be out the door at a fire sale price.
Well, I reckon those fuckwits on the project last night, or whenever it was, with that I don't know what you'd call it, that basically put another nail in their coffin. If you've seen that footage,
horrendous. Yep, absolutely horrendous. And Waleed Ali apparently has come out and apologised, but I wonder how much they had to pay him to come out and apologise about a Jesus joke.
Yeah,
I mean, just saying. But look, they paid $250 million about 5 years ago for Channel 10. Seriously, I reckon you pick it up for under $100 million, and the people could raise that and get rid of the bloody ABC as well, because it's certainly not for the people and certainly not by the people. But how about the people invest in their own commercial television network, and we make these bastards an offer? Because it's not worth anything. You know,
Yep,
the
but,
network itself is worth nothing.
the problem is still going to be that you know, if the content you start to put on there is not to their narrative, that they still can pull the plug on you.
No. This is full ownership of the network. What you put out the transmitter, you're responsible for.
Yep.
What you would run into problems with maybe is the broadcasting authority, who would say, "Oh, you know, you're not allowed to broadcast that," but they would be in error. Because essentially you can do anything you like as long as you're not breaking certain rules, and we certainly wouldn't be. There are plenty of channels available on pay TV platforms that focus on conspiracy analysis or fact-finding and all that sort of thing. So this would just simply be a completely different TV format to something that network had ever seen before. Something created by the people for the people, where people like Maria Z, possibly the Aussie Cossack. I don't know if Dave Graham's going to be available. He might be a politician by that stage. There are others in the movement, maybe me, maybe others, who could get slots in that sort of environment. They already have the infrastructure in place for a national broadcaster, and if I'm honest, the government can't afford to let them fall over. You'd be simply paying for the hardware that they have, because they have killed the business. There isn't piss poor advertising money. Nobody watches the frigging thing at all. I think it rates lower than the ABC and SBS for the most times. So the only way that they do make their money is out of those late night TV commercials to try and sell you shit. They charge that by the half hour or the hour airtime, and maybe even by the whole night. And they get very, very good money out of that. So that's the only way they are being propped up, by those sorts of commercials. Same with most of the other free-to-air networks in that midnight till 6 a.m. sort of space. It's owned by those, you know, buy one, get 5 free sort of companies. So seriously, mate, that's something we could look at. The people would need to invest in it. We'd have to put together a people's board to run it, but it'd be a hell of a lot better and probably more focused on the people than the one the ABC currently says is looking after our interests. So anyway, started out as a joke. Maybe we can look at it in the future. Because
look, I think it's a big task, and like I said, I think we've got. There's so much social media that we can reach an audience with what we're doing now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That once the people switch off and they actually get on board and start to get involved with the whole movement of taking back control of our lives and our country. In the short term, I think our food security is probably the number one thing that we need to look at.
I agree.
At the moment. Yep. And our community action groups, which we're having massive success. Last night they had the Yarra Rangers corporate meeting. And I'm not sure how many they had over there. It was probably between 160 and 200 people from my place, Lilydale, or Yarra Valley, turned up there, and they'd already they're just fucking with them now. And they got up in the middle of the meeting en masse. The whole lot of them just walked out. It was a
wow.
ploy, but it made such a statement. And then they got they had the paper there, and they got a photo on the steps with their placards and that kind of stuff. They're smashing it out of the park with the fly drop they did up in Mombog the other week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know whether you're aware of that one or not, but
no.
They put so we've developed our own flyers, which is this is a ticket, and it's exactly what we're doing with My Place Australia, where we're developing flyers on all different topics. Now we've got 2 issues in Victoria at the moment, or probably more than 2, but one is Dictator Danny's removing all natural gas to households over the next 3 years. So all new houses don't have gas connected to them that are getting built at the moment, and all existing homes by 2025 won't have gas. So all your appliances, your heaters, your hot water services, your ovens, cooktops, whatever that you've got as gas will be obsolete by 2025. So that was one of the flyers, front and back, double-sided A5. The other one was on the smart cities, because Mombog's actually been put up as a smart city by the Yarra Rangers Council. And there was a third one that was more specific to Mombog. Now, I think they had 20 of them. Spent 2 hours and put 3 flyers into 1,000 letterboxes. Off the back of that, those people found the council. They found the drop-in centre that they'd set up to kind of spruik and sell the whole thing about smart cities. And they all turned up there en masse and were quite pissed that the council hadn't informed them about what their plans were. The person running it quit because of the public backlash. And then we were up there the following week, the My Place crew, not me in particular, in shops and putting stuff up in shop windows, and the shops, all the shopkeepers are saying the whole town's talking about this smart city, about the gas, about My Place. So that 1,000 letterboxes, which reached 2,000 people, probably spread in less than a week to probably 5,000 people in that small country town. So the power of a letterbox drop when there's things like this to be that we need to get into the public's kind of in front of their eyes and in their heads that this kind of stuff's happening that they're not aware of. This week they hit Warburton. They did the same thing in Warburton because that's another Yarra Ranges town that's been earmarked to be a smart city. So they're knocking it out of the park over there. They're actually doing better than we are in Frankston at the moment.
It sounds like like we need to get some sort of walking crews involved in this and get some areas set up every weekend or whenever you can do it, and maybe just do the 4 streets nearest to you, 2 in one direction, 2 in the other.
Well, I got 7,000 flyers being delivered to me tomorrow, 7 of each, that is. So we've got our whole team down here, and we've got our when we did the federal election, we had 13 different zones. Was drawn up on our massive map of the Dunkley area. So we had zone leaders, and then anybody that lived within that zone would be under that kind of leader, and they would just go about and distribute those things. So we've got a way of doing that. So with these flyers, they'll be out in no time, those 7,000. And then what we're developing at the moment, I've got a whole different project teams developing probably about 8 now. We're up to 8 different flyers, front and back A5s. These are all going to be available. Most of these ones will be generic across the country. So it doesn't matter what council you're in, what state you're in. They're going to be a national flyer to do with 1688 Bill of Rights. It might be to do with the Constitution, just to educate. Because what My Place Australia is about is re-education of a nation, and obviously putting unity back into community. So we've got to educate not only the public, but also the police and the councillors with all this information, so they actually understand the bigger picture of what they're doing, because most of them don't really know. Yeah.
The problem is they're employed to know.
They're employed to know the agenda.
Service.
They're employed to know the agenda, not employed to know the public's wants and needs.
Well, yeah. But
they're only taught, lawyers are only taught a certain part of the law. They're not taught the whole law.
Well, no, yeah, true.
So they can then actually practice law without even having batting an eyelid that they're doing the wrong thing, because they only know what they're practicing. So they only know their side of the law. They don't know the Constitution. They don't know the bullshit that's happened since 1960 and even before, because they're just, some of them do, but the majority of them don't.
Yep. No, you're 100% right. And of course, if you, as we found out the other night, are in the legal system and wind up having to use, at least in the ACT, legal aid, be fully aware that their first obligation is to the court, not to you. So not all lawyers and barristers are like that, though. You've just got to find the one that truthfully believes that when he tells you that, and get him working for you, which is what we're trying to find for Paul, Offie, and the Freedom Truck at the moment. So,
Paul's case is all over. It's done and dusted, mate. Oh yeah, the dickhead legal aid fella that they put on his case, he sent a letter. I know Spiros must have been dealing with it, but sent a letter stating that his obligation. I can't say what Paul wants me to say because it's going to make the court look bad. And one other statement that he sent to Spiros Stewart's got straight onto the head of legal aid. She stepped in and basically taken over and said, don't worry, he's getting car back, charges are going to be dropped and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, no, well, I can tell you that she did try that and they pushed back. He's not getting it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there will be a fight.
Oh, that was the last I heard that was she was going to do that. But all right.
Yeah. No, she did. I was there for that mediation with Paul and Tamsin, her name was, lovely lady. And once again, first obligation to the court. She did take an offer to them, but because this is, and we had Michael Offey on the other night along with Bruce Pade, the laws that they've used to keep the truck are civil in nature, not criminal. They have Paul in the Supreme Court on trumped up criminal charges. And so getting one thing released from the other is difficult by nature of the way they've upgraded the charges and the fact that they have seized the truck under civil law, not criminal law. Using the proceeds of crime legislation in the ACT to do it, which if you ever read the COCA laws, are just some of the loosest written pieces of crap I've ever seen pertaining to be laws I've ever seen. Really, really bad stuff.
They've still got to have evidence. They can't just make an assessment without evidence. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to certain officers being able to back up their evidence, their witness evidence, because it'll go very much like Bruce Pay. And
I just hope that everyone that's involved in this kind of shenanigans at the moment are taking a really detailed list of these players, so they can be dealt with when the time comes.
I had the cause to have a conversation with a policeman today. He rang yesterday and asked me to call him back. Turned out it was in relation to something that happened a couple of weeks ago. I'd actually forgotten about. Somebody in a chat somewhere had made a threat against me, and it had been reported to police, and they were investigating it. So I rang him back today. We wound up having a pretty good conversation, if I'm honest about it. And then he said, oh, look, during the process of the investigation, I looked at a few of your videos, and I looked at the one in particular where, this threat was made. And he said, you were saying some things, about people going to court and, police going to court for not doing the right thing and going to have to face the people. And you said, you said some pretty strong things. I said, well, yeah, I did. If you're not, doing the right thing by and for the people, then yes, you're eventually going to have to front up for it. Now, I went through a couple of little points, and I sort of, thought I'd tickle him a little bit with a few red pills. He was very open to it, very open, very willing to talk. We wound up having a very interesting conversation. I'm sure he hung up and said, "We're going to chase that bastard," but he was a good actor. What can I say? And
look, they're turning as well. Like even I forgot to mention that as well with Lilydale. They met 7 senior police officers from the Yarra Valley area last Thursday, actually the Thursday before now, and had an hour-long discussion with them. And they wanted to know, what we're about, and they can see that we're, well-organised, well-structured group. We're not a threat. That's what they were trying to work out, whether we're going to be a threat. They understand that we're not a threat in any way, shape, or form. With going to that next level of being, whatever you want to call it. But they also got red pilled as well, and were told in no uncertain terms about the doctor-patient confidentiality laws and the discrimination that they've been privy to and actually enforcing. And the fact that those jabs, what's going on with them. So they were red-pilled as well. And I think you'll find that a lot of the cops are starting to ask questions. I mean, they've got people like really close friends that left the police force that still talk to the ones that are in there. I think they know more than they're letting on. And I believe that, everybody's starting to turn at the moment. All the stories I hear at the moment of people, families being reconnected, people waking up, And so it is speeding up. We've just got to keep the pressure up. And the whole idea of, the My Place with these flyers is that for the last kind of 2 years, all these so-called leaders have been centralising our non-compliance.
Yep.
Right? We've all been dragged into the capital cities of every state and dragged to Canberra, and everything's been centralised and achieving absolutely zero. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a fantastic time, and it was at the time it was kind of it was what people needed, and it's all a process and a journey. But what we're doing with My Place Australia now is decentralising the non-compliance into every house, into every street, and into every community, where people will be able to download these forms and say, look, I'm going to print 100 of these out tonight and go for a walk, and do my 2 or 3 streets near my house.
Yeah.
So they won't have to be part of an organised kind of thing. They'll be able to just do it off their own bat anytime they want. And the whole education of a nation is going to be done by all of us.
Yep. And it's going to be done at ground roots level.
Yep. Because it's the knowledge that keeps us as infants in the court system, and it's knowledge that's kept us in the dark, and not necessarily through our own fault either. But the fact is now that once you know that we need to learn this, it's like, that's it. Forget about all the other bullshit. Forget about the white hats. Forget about Q. It's all bullshit. We shouldn't even be wasting our time on that. If that happens, it happens. We don't have any control over it. Let's just concentrate on what we do have control over, and that's taking back control of our towns and our suburbs.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's a mighty effort that My Place is a little over 12, 18 months old now?
Like this part of My Place, like after the federal election, we're talking probably 8 months since we switched to just building the community groups and starting to grow the strategy that is ever evolving and getting stronger and bigger and better every day, every meeting we have, every conversation. Always thinking about new ideas, new plans, new contacts. We're connecting so many really important people. So that really only started in June last year. So probably 8 months.
And I think I'm probably going to get the figures wrong, but I think you were in the 40s at some stage when you sort of went full time on this. So in 8 months you sort of got 70 odd new My Places up around Australia.
No, I had a look back when you were down, or even when Ricardo was down at the end of November. We had about 30. So in December and January, February, in 3 months we've added another kind of 70.
Oh wow! Okay, great. Didn't realise.
And the next 70 will come in 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, I'm coming back down your way hopefully, and we'll be banging our way around Victoria and into South Australia and coming to Frankston. And I want to come to the Yarra Valley and check them out. Monbulk sounds like a great part of the world, and that you've got a couple of new My Places in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, and Wodonga is up and running. You mentioned Cobram, so very keen to pop in and have a look and meet these folks in those areas when there's a place to go. I mean, I understand it's baby steps at the moment for a lot of these places, still trying to find venues. Yeah.
Well, it's not even. We had this on the Zoom last night, and like, there's no. A lot of people are really excited and want to. They're looking at other groups and they're feeling like they're not. They're not getting anywhere. And the whole thing is, it's not about getting your groups up and running to start with. It's about connecting everyone in your town, socialising, getting to know each other. And the first few meetups, don't even think about getting a group together. All you need to do is talk about what concept, what do you think My Place is? What is it that we're creating? Because once they get the full concept and all the different levels of the mindset change and the plan that we have, once they get that fully and they talk about that for week after week after week, and the core group of 20 or 30 or 50, whatever it is, just get that kind of in their mindset and in their brain. When they start to grow and start their groups, it'll be they'll know what the groups are there for. They'll know what they're doing before they start them. If they start them straight away, they're a little bit lost and they've got no direction. But you've got to understand the full concept before you can kind of take anything in the direction it needs to go.
Mate, I appreciate your time tonight. I know that you are jamming us in between other meetings and probably dinner with Anna. So I'll let you go and shoot off. Thank you very much for spending as much time as you have with us. Is there anything that you really want folks to know before you leave?
Oh, just look, everyone in this country. I mean, we've just got to just have a look at what we're doing. Try and wrap your head around the mindset, what we're trying to create. This is the model. This is the answer that we can all implement. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to follow people. We just have to come into our community, offer what services you've got, and it's that simple. We've just got to try and move on from the past. Stop looking in the revision mirror. Forget about what's happened. Forget about the LRAB machines. Forget about Canberra and all the rest of it. We can revisit that and reminisce about that once we get the job done. But
Yep.
there's too many people still trapped in fear, and too many still trapped, isolated, or just going round and round in circles, getting nowhere, and just still talking about everything rather than actually putting hitting the rubber. It's got to hit the road now. We've got to come and find a My Place group and come and find out what we're about. And what we're doing, we are taking back control from the grassroots up. We're not talking about it. We're actually doing it.
Yeah. Action louder than words. And I think we started talking about, or I started talking about, making sure that you've got doers in your group, not the wannabes. My Place and your formula that you're using, so I guess it naturally lets the doers rise to the top, and it exposes the wannabes, doesn't it?
It does, but it also it shows the other people. Like when we went to the council meeting, whenever it was, the last one on the 20th, and it was all about the Long Street Reserve. We're trying to help the people up there save, and we got there was 10 speakers, all got 3 minutes. It was a really, really long meeting. I didn't speak. I just sat there all night and watched all the people, one after the other, go up there, nervous as shit. Never public spoken, a 16-year-old school kid, and they all got up there and they poured their heart out for 3 minutes about what that reserve meant to them, to the councils, and begging for them to change their mind. And I just sat back there and I thought, fuck, this is exactly what we're doing. We're actually encouraging and empowering people to have their voice heard. And that's the same in the groups. Yes, the strong people come up, and yes, the strong people start the smaller groups and all the little groups in a My Place community. But there's also other people in there that come along and they learn, and then they start to step up and talk within their group, and then all of a sudden they're talking in front of the whole group. And it's just empowering people to give them a pathway and how to take back control, how to stand up and have their voice heard.
Yeah. Yep, and it's a very comfortable environment, even for people who are not used to standing up in public and speaking. It's a very comforting, welcoming, warm environment at My Places that I've been to, all of them, and there is no reason to feel intimidated. And nobody's there to tell you how badly you spoke publicly. They're there to hear your story, and once you tell it from the heart, it will flow. That's just how it works out. Take it from a professional talker. That's what will happen. Mate, thanks very much for coming on tonight and having another chat. Looking forward to catching up with you and Anna when we come back down.
No worries, Carl. Thanks very much, guys. And come on, Aussies, get out there and let's actually get into action and take this country back.
MyPlaceAustralia.org is the way to make contact, or you can go through My Place Frankston on Facebook. Is that the best way to get to you, mate?
MyPlaceAustralia.org. Now I've stepped away from Frankston. We've got other people stepping up and into leadership roles there, and they're running the meeting downstairs at the moment. I'm going to go and give them an update shortly at the end of the meeting. So I'm all about the growth on a national scale now. We're building. We've got about 12 people on our national team now. We've got some really good IT people, and we're building an amazing team to take this to a whole new level.
Spectacular, mate. All power to you. Thanks very much for coming on. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thanks, Carl. See you guys.
Cheers. Bye. Darreen Bergwerf, the man behind My Place Australia. And get a My Place in your place, folks. It doesn't matter if you haven't got a venue yet, just like he says. Initially, you want to be getting to know each other. You want to get a bit of a feel for what everybody thinks their town needs. what people feel they can contribute. And maybe that's just arranging a few meetups, as Vince has done in Mannum at one of the local clubs in Mannum. That's where they have their planning meetings. That's where they have their social gatherings. And I have a sneaking suspicion that might be where the Voice of Freedom will have a show when we come to Mannum in South Australia in the not too distant future. I just want to have a couple of comments here. This one from Bill. I was told by a person contradicted by New South Wales government that every emergency vehicle will be kitted out with Starlink. I would doubt that very much. Starlink is satellite operated. It's going to be absolutely useless in a city environment. You can't drive around between skyscrapers. The satellite dish will only see a very small envelope of the sky. And Starlink needs to have, for best transfer speeds, it needs to have essentially horizon to horizon connection. So at least this iteration, and even the RV version that they are putting out at the moment, is the RV version is slightly different to the home version. I have the home version, which I cart around, and it allows me to set up wherever I want. But we have to pay a premium fee to be able to log into Starlink in every state. All right. So part of the deal initially that you'll get if you're logging in at home is this is going to be something that plugs into the side of your house and is going to stay there. So they only charge you for access to that part of the country that you need, and I need access to all parts of the country. So they charge accordingly for that. That's the other thing to be aware of. So if you're going to go and get it stuck in your RV, and it's a flat dish that goes onto the roof of your RV or your trailer or whatever you've got, then yes, apparently it does work quite well, unless you're at a caravan park or a free camping zone that has lots of trees around it. Your horizon will begin at the top of the tallest or the shortest tree, if you like, that blocks your view of wherever the dish needs to go. So you'll need to be very mindful of where you pull up. Now, Starlink being satellites that are moving and your dish isn't, will also work extremely well at certain parts of the day, and at other times it'll be absolutely shitful, simply because of where the satellites are in the sky in relation to where your dish is, and if there is interruption factor. I can tell you, if you're living in a suburban area, particularly in a tropical climate where there are lots of trees around the backyards, not just yours maybe, but everybody else's as well, you're going to need to put your satellite dish or your Starlink dish on a pole, probably 4 to 5 meters up. Just to give you horizon to horizon coverage. That means guy wires and some fairly solid securing, and then I have no doubt you'll get pretty good coverage. So yeah, there's a bit to play around with Starlink, just between you and me and the gatepost. Facebooker. Oh yeah. Now here's some turd who comes in and plugs Dick Yardley, whatever his name is, his talks. Now listen. If you're mad enough to go off and listen to that bullshit from a man who thinks he's got the vaguest idea, then please feel free. But don't come in here and advertise that shit, all right? We don't advertise anybody or anything really in here. And I'd appreciate you not trying to spread the lies that goes on with Dick Yardley and co. We've been through this. Doesn't fly. Not here. Boycott Coles and Woolies. I think that's one of the best things you've said in a while, Sudsy. Although, no, you're always saying good things. Absolutely. Why the hell would you go to Coles and Woolies and Aldi after what they've done to us? I know that certain IGAs, while they are independently owned, I think certain IGAs also demanded all their staff to be fully whacked up the wazoo. And I don't know about ongoing employment, but I certainly know that was a stipulation in certain IGAs in Queensland, at any rate. Yes, really start thinking about growing stuff, folks. Do you have a relative who has farming land that maybe isn't being put to use because of his age or her age, and there's nobody there to actually work it? Could it be worked? Realistically, could it be worked into something like a vegetable farm or a fruit farm? Could it be worked into land that could graze cattle, could graze sheep, could handle pigs or chickens? These are things that we are going to need to be looking at. And a lot of people can't obviously go and afford this sort of stuff. So maybe we can, I don't know, share crop, do something like that. There must be properties, there must be old equipment not being used just because the farmers that own it are just too old to work it, and there's nothing in it for them. Well, I think what you've seen tonight with Darren is a plan where there is something in it for the farmers. There is something in it for the people. And through a network of My Place right around Australia, we've got a workforce to get it all out of the ground and get it into our communities all over the place. So give that some thought, folks. If that's something that, maybe you've got friends, relatives that are in this sort of a situation, it would be good if we could expand this, get more stuff in the ground growing on a community basis, not being grown for the likes of Coles or Woolworths, who will be very pedantic and say, oh, well, your apple must look like an apple. And if your carrot comes out and it's got a little spindly tail hanging off it, or it's got another growth off the side, it's no good. Well, that's the sort of stuff we're all very happy to eat. We'd probably be quite happy to get that little extra bit and chop it up. It doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing. It just has to be eaten. Seems pretty easy. It has to be affordable. Well, we can all do that. All right, this is a question, Bill. Chris. Yeah, okay, Chris. So the question is, where are all the lawyers, the QCs who are as savvy as us on constitutional law? Do you really, was this, you were being a bit facetious, or do you want a serious answer? I really don't know, because I've seen a lot of your comments, Chris, and it's too long to explain. But yes, you ask a good question. Where are they all, Chris? How is it that I know more about the Constitution, you know more about the Constitution apparently, than a QC does, or a constitutional lawyer who has done nothing but study it all their life? How is that, Chris? Somebody's not telling you the truth, Chris. That's what I'm saying. Somebody's not telling the truth. And there is a great deal of evidence that will be presented at the appropriate time to suggest that all these fees, the large volumes of settlement monies, and when I say settlement monies, I'm talking about the fees that your lawyers, your QCs, your constitutional experts will charge, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 to represent you in court and possibly get you off, but you'll still have to pay. Those funds will be split with the court and quite possibly with the prosecution. Certainly if the prosecution wins, then the financial gains are spread, dispersed, if you will. And the ACT has a particularly juicy way of sharing the profits of what they steal from people in the courts there. It goes into a trust, and they get to administer that trust themselves without any oversight. It's, at least that's the way that I understand it. Very interesting way. And I'm probably, not too far from the truth in suggesting that they're not the only state or territory in the country that are doing like that. I've just seen Cooker's little comment. Well, as much as you'd like to think it was about you, Cooker Watch, it actually wasn't. The threat that I received was different to yours. But if you want to call what you said, and let's talk about that in the same vein, then no. I think all that needs to be understood is a trail needs to be created. You of all people would know about creating trails. So consider trail created. But please rest assured, the police chat and the threat that I received was nothing to do with you. So you can take that little medal off your chest. It wasn't anything to do with you. I don't do anything to do with you. Trust me. I don't even bother going to read your Twitter splatch and whatever else you're hooked up to. I'm waiting for you to become a mainstream media star. That's what I'm waiting for you to do. I'm sure that'll come up soon. If you're on the roads, folks, look out. There are lots of dickheads out there.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!